Hey everyone, today I'd like to tell you about goldenrod. So goldenrod is a native plant here in North America, and there are over 100 species worldwide, but most of them are in North America with only a couple in Europe. And the Latin name for goldenrod is Solidago. The one I have behind me is Solidago rugosa fireworks. So it is a cultivar, and you could probably see what's called fireworks. Now, a lot of times people say they do not want to plant goldenrod in their garden because it causes their allergies. And that is a total complete myth. And why it gets such a bad rep is that ragweed is blooming at the same time as goldenrod, but goldenrod is so much more noticeable. You know, it's bright yellow, usually grows in large clumps, and where ragweed, you can't even really notice that it's flowering. And so that's why it gets so confused with ragweed. But anyway, ragweed is pollinated by wind, and if something's getting pollinated by wind, the pollen is going to be, it could be very light and almost like dust and small in size. So it can travel by wind. So that is why we are able to breathe that pollen in, and it's causing our allergen. Now, goldenrod is pollinated by insects. So the pollen is a lot heavier and a lot larger in size. So it has to depend on those insects to pollinate it, and that cannot enter our passageways. It is a great pollinator plant because it flowers in late summer and into early fall when not much else is flowering. So you basically have goldenrod and aster and boltonia. Those are a few flowering species at this time of the year. Now, like I said, there's almost over 100 different species in North America, and so there's a wide range of different types that you will find. Some are short, some are tall. Some of them can get 5 to 6 feet tall. Some will stay about a foot tall. There's some that will like partial shade to shade conditions, such as blue stem goldenrod or zigzag goldenrod. A lot of them are going to like full sun. I would say probably most of them like drier soil, but there are some species that live in bogs. So you want to do your research and find one that is going to work for your garden. Now, sometimes some of the species can spread quite a bit. When you're driving down the highway, you often see the goldenrod canadensis, and that one is really not suitable for a typical garden setting. Some of them are going to spread by clumps, so at the base the clump will just get bigger and bigger, and you can divide that out every few years. Some will spread by seed, and then some are also going to spread by rhizome, which means it's in like a root along the surface, and it sprouts that way. There's even some that are fragrant, and there's some that are actually endangered as well. So there's all different types, and so there's a lot to learn about Solidago. Solidago is the Latin name for goldenrod. Actually, since this is in such good flower, I'm going to harvest some of this and actually use it to make a herbal medicine to use for my allergies next spring. So not only does it not cause allergies, but it's actually an herbal medicine to combat allergies. And it makes a really great cut flower as well. It would really look good with some zinnias or dahlias, some things like that. And it is just really looking really pretty this year. Now, while this does like drier soil, if we don't have enough rain, we're not going to get that good of a bloom. Last year, if you can believe it, this barely had any blooms at all. I don't think I barely saw any. But this year it is just looking absolutely gorgeous. Last year we had a pretty bad drought to where we didn't get rain. I think it seemed like a month or something. And so at the end of the summer, and so this didn't flower at all. But this year we've had a pretty good amount of rain, and so it is just looking really, really pretty. So if we do get in drought conditions, you might want to water it. But this one here in my garden spreads by clumps, and so I'm able, that's what I've done here. I started with 2 plants several years ago, and I've divided it out over time, and the clumps have just gotten bigger. And it's actually, when I cut it, it kind of smells evergreen. It smells really good. Other than that, some good plants to pair this with. Black-eyed Susan might be a good one because the black-eyed Susans flower before the goldenrod, and so you can kind of get a succession of color. So maybe plant some black-eyed Susans in front of the goldenrod or behind it, depending on the species. And then once the black-eyed Susans are done, you'll get some of the goldenrod. Another good one would be some native grasses. That would look really pretty with this. And also aster. Aster is going to be really pretty because all of our asters are going to be like a purple or blue or even white color, and that will pair really well with the yellow. So they're going to be blooming, you know, at the same time. So this is a just really great plant to add some color to your yard at this time of the year, but also give something that the pollinators can use for a food source since there's not much else blooming at this time. So don't be afraid to plant some goldenrod. Search the different species and find one that is suitable for your microclimate, and I hope you'll give this native plant a chance.